Sack Life! Beat Depression is day 772, and you know what we're about to do. Get in another somatic healing session to wipe out depression. Thank you so much, anybody who's tuning in now, anyone who's tuning in later. Appreciate you guys and girls out there. Shout out to Brett, a.k.a. McLeod. Thanks for being here. And to Tabitha, thank you so much. And to Broloni, everybody who's tuning in. Lisa the Luminary, I see you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Appreciate that support. It is day 772 of progress and success for me, the Sackman. Let me know how many days it's been for you. That progress tracking tool is a powerful way that we can reinforce the truth that we are stronger than the debilitating effects of depression or anxiety. So keeping track of your progress out there can have a cumulative effect as long as you continue to take note of it. And that is one of the good ways to help ourselves out of a victim mindset and into a victor mindset. Because it's true, it's factual based proof that you are stronger than those effects. So please do keep track of it. Oh, that's the same Brett that used to be AKA Saul. So appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. And for sharing that number of progress out there. 89 days, crushing it. Quickly on your way to 100. Proud of you out there for pushing through and for showing up for yourself. And I'm glad that you are taking it down. That way you can give yourself accurate credit and know what you're capable of doing in the future, what you've done in the past, and what you're capable of doing now, which is overcoming anything that is trying to slow you down or tell you that you can't get up and fight forwards today. So thank you so much for sharing that progress and for being part of this social support system we're building for one another out here, fighting for better mental health. Yeah, just need a sec, man. Hey. All we need is the train, right? Hopefully, I'm giving you guys tools that allow you. Let's get Bob over here. Bob's not all the way in the party. All right. Hopefully, I'm giving you guys tools that you can use on your own time, at your own discretion, whenever you get a chance to make it to that heavy bag or to beat depression Bob or any kind of Bob, really. If you're getting out there and getting that physical outlet, it can take that somatic stress relief to the next level. So we can get a good dose here from just putting that energy into those strikes. But with the feedback from Bob or pad work or that heavy bag, really take things to the next level. And also the name is Scottish Accent McLeod. McLeod. I like it. Good stuff. All right, back on track. We covered the list tracking tool, that progress tracking tool. It's going to be a standard round today. I want to also mention that powerful mental health tool, gratitude. We usually start with it, and I kind of did mention that I was grateful to you guys and girls, but I also want to shout out specific gratitude today, thinking about one or two specific things. Shout out to Billy the Savage, a.k.a. Billy the Kid, a.k.a. Bilbo Baggins, a.k.a. California Bill, a.k.a. Bill the Thrill. He's a man of many names and many talents. And today I'm thankful for Bill because he gave me free coffee, which is why I'm so wired right now and ready to go in this lesson. So shout out to Bill, and also, of course, as always, to everybody who's been tuning in and supporting one another. Go ahead and think about something that you're grateful for today. It can be more than one thing. There's no reason to stop at one. The more things you keep track of, the more powerful that gratitude tool can become in your life. And it's also a positive Monday something, so it's a good time to think about positivity, think about the things we can be grateful for, those silver linings in life. And research has shown the more we use that gratitude tool, the easier it becomes to use. And even if you can't find an answer to the question, what do I have to be grateful for? It still can have a positive effect, rebalancing the brain, making it easier to find those silver linings going into the future. So, try it out. Think about your gratitude. So we talked about the list tool. We talked about the gratitude tool. We're going to be doing a standard round today. 3 rounds, 3 minutes each. Shout out to Master Checo. Thank you for being here. 3 rounds, 3 minutes each. And today we're going to talk about pivots. We're going to be pivoting all over the place. We'll pivot off the front foot. We're going to switch stance. We're going to pivot off what was the rear foot. And we're going to talk about how to use those things offensively and defensively. So, with our pivot, we're going to be tossing hooks, because what we want to think about when we're moving around and we're tossing those different shots is how our body aids in developing power into those shots, right? How can we use, just like when we toss the jab, that preloads that rear shoulder, making that cross nice and powerful to follow up with. We can do the same thing when we're moving around and we're pivoting. So to start out, we're going to work from our Muay Thai stance. Again, standard rounds, 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath and drink some water. Make sure you're staying hydrated out there and pushing to your level. And shout out to Fabrizio. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in. It's good to see you, man. Hopefully we can link up sometime while I'm still here in Jersey. Let me know. Shoot me a DM. And thank you for your support. Also, shout out to Slayer Ken for being here. Thank you for tuning in and staying consistent, sharing that progress. I know you're about to share it any second now. Let me know how many days you've been showing up and pushing forward. It's been 772 for me. How many has it been for you? All right, getting back on track. Ken said, "What's up, bro? Another day to defeat depression." Yes, every day is a good day to defeat depression. So keep on going. That's what it's all about. Progress is success out here. There's no limit to how much we can learn, how much we can grow when we make that goal progress. So getting back on track with the lesson, we're working from Muay Thai. Stance nice and balanced, guard nice and high. And we're talking about pivots. So the first one we're going to talk about is offensively using that lead foot to pivot into a hook to the head. And this does two things. One is that pivot lets you use that rotation, right? So we step forward, small step forwards, and then we pivot on the ball of that foot, twisting through the hips, right? Rotating in, bang, and hitting that target right in the head. But the other thing we can do when we pivot, not just rotate, we can pivot our entire body. We can put even more power into that hook and also get our head off that center line and ourselves out of the way of danger. Checking in on Slayer Ken. It's been 380 days of consecutive progress and success for Ken. Crushing those goals, slaying it out there. Good stuff, brother. Thank you for sharing and for helping us with that by being that change that we'd like to see in the world. Appreciate you. All right, so let's talk about the pivot off the lead foot from Muay Thai stance. Pop into your position, and we're going to take a small step forwards diagonally, kind of inching our way forwards, put some pressure on that target. We're going to plant that ball of the foot straight ahead, and then we're going to kind of push off with our rear leg and pivot. Boom. Turning 180 degrees, not 180, turning 90 degrees and getting our head off that center line, getting ourselves out of the way of danger. But at the same time, we're going to be launching a hook, a lead hook, because that lead hook is going to be accelerated and we're going to get even more power out of it by adding that pivot in there. So we're letting the body do the work. We're letting that sweet science take effect and the body weight come behind those hits. So it's not just an arm toss, never just an arm toss. We're really going to put some power into it. And you can do this with the bag too. If you've got a heavy bag, or you've got a V depression bob or something out there, you can step off diagonally, very small diagonal step here, putting pressure on that opponent, and then just sink a little bit on the knees. We're going to push off on that rear foot, pivoting on the ball, boom, of the front, twist in through. And all you have to do from there, after the pivot, right, small step forwards, pivot, boom, all you've got to do is just put that hand up in position. Bring that horizontal, bring that elbow up, horizontal, locking it in at 90 degrees, keeping the wrist nice and straight. We're going to land on those large two knuckles with the palm facing in towards us. So go ahead and give it a shot here. From Muay Thai stance, small step forwards diagonally, pivot and toss that arm up into the body cast, right? Locking it in at 90, just pivot through. Boom. What happens? That fist coming around. It's going to make a great counter attack. And at the same time, we're putting pressure on them and we're getting our head off that center line, so we're going to become harder to hit. So that's the lead pivot we're talking about with that lead hook. We're going to talk about a rear pivot now with a rear hook, and we're going to do it two different ways. The first way will be more defensively. So when our opponent is coming in, putting a lot of pressure on us, kind of driving us back, what we can do is just throw off that rhythm by stepping off the line with the rear foot. Again, weight is on the ball of the foot, right? Toes slightly curled up. And we're going to push off and pivot with the front foot. Boom. And as we pivot through, we don't want to stay in orthodox stance. We want to pivot through and let that foot come back to southpaw stance. So this way we get ourselves off that center line again. We're getting ourselves out of the way of danger. And we're going to make offense and defense one. When we step off that rear line with the ball of the foot, we're going to pivot through, push off that front foot. And when we pivot, we're going to throw that rear arm up into the body cast. Let it come around with the weight of the body. Whoosh, boom, right there. You can do it nice and slow. Just rotate on the ball of that foot as you go. And there you have a defensive pivot. Our first one was an offensive. We're putting pressure on them. We're moving forwards. We're being evasive. And our second one is, again, evasive, but it's a defensive move. We're not putting that pressure on. We're actually pulling back because maybe we have a hyper-aggressive training partner or you're in the ring. So small step off that rear line, pivot through, boom, tossing that hook in as you rotate into southpaw stance. And the final pivot we're going to talk about is from our Muay Thai stance in orthodox position. We're going to give it a switch and then, boom, step off the line and pivot through, which turns that rear hook into a lead hook. Again, adding more confusion, more variety to your training routine, and also making you a more complete, more adaptable fighter out there when you are training. So that's it. All kinds of hooks, all kinds of pivots. We'll be throwing fundamentals in there too. Of course, as always, fundamentals are always good to practice. And we'll have some fighting spirit coming through that boombox as we go. Hopefully you guys can find room to make progress, room to improve, because that's what it's all about. Just showing up for you and taking a step forwards today, whether it's the full routine or if it's just partial routine. As long as you're showing up and giving yourself a challenge, you'll have that room to grow and develop those skills. All right, let's get into it. Visualize that target, pop into your Muay Thai stance. We will be working those fundamentals in there. We're going to get these tunes going. Make sure you've got water. Let's get it on, yeah. There we go. Visualize that target. Guard high by the brow line. Close the fingers. Tuck the thumbs. Keep those wrists nice and straight. And we're going to start with the 1-2. Right down that center line. Toss that jab cross. Keeping the guard high. Keeping the chin on the center line. 1-2. Work that dummy. Remember, visualize that depression dummy in front of you and turn those knuckles over as you toss the 1 and the 2. Rotate in through the body. Let that body do the work for you. Twist into it. 1-2. Let's go. 1-2. 1-2. Guard high by the brow line. Chin tuck. Shoulders roll. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. All right, we're going to start working on that lead pivot. Our first pivot attack here. Oh, forgot the timer. That's right, a little early bonus round for you. Getting into it, we're going to start with that lead pivot now. Remember, from your Muay Thai stance, keep that movement going. Chin tuck, guard high, hips curled, knees bent. Nice balanced stance. Feet in the 2 corners of that box. Head in the center. Step in for the 1-2. 1-2. Boom. Now we're going to pivot off that front foot. So small step off the line diagonally. Put that forward pressure on them. Weight on the ball of that front foot. We're going to pivot and push off that rear foot 90 degrees. Getting ourselves out of the way of danger. And we're going to toss a hook at the same time. Rotate back onto the line. And let's practice it together. Put that forward momentum in there. We hit them with the 1-2. Right down the pipe. 1-2. Right down the pipe. Keep it going. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. Back to stance. And now we're going to put that forward pressure on them. Step off the line. Pivot on that front foot. And throw the arm up into that body cast. Keeping the guard high on the opposite hand. Push off that rear foot for the pivot. Whoosh. Boom. There it is. And rotate back. Back on track. Guard high. Keep it moving. Hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And pivot. Step off the line. And sink a little bit on the knees here. And kind of stand up. Boom. Into the pivot. That'll add more explosive power into that punch. Back to stance. Hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. Remember, keep those knees bent. It will make the rotation nice and easy. All our power coming through those mechanics. Rotate through the hips and shoulders. Driving those fists forward. Keeping the guard high the whole time. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And we're going to pivot off the front line with that lead foot. Pivot on the ball of the foot while you throw the hook up there. Boom. And you got him with the counter. Rotate back on track. Guard high. Keep it moving. And with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And diagonal step off the line. Pivot on that front foot as you toss the counter hook. Back to stance. Guard high. Shout out to Vibe. Appreciate you. Guard high. Keep that focus on that target. Turn those fists over. Land on the large 2 knuckles with that 1-2 and drill it. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2.
Refine that form. Curl the shoulders, curl the hips. Knees bent. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And pivot into the hook. Diagonal step forwards on the ball of the foot. Toss the arm up into the body cast. Rotate through. And pivot back on track. Guard high. Let's go. Never ever give up. Let's do it. Step into the 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Pivot into the lead hook. Boom. Back to stance. One more time. Off the line. Pivot. Bang. Into that lead hook. And we're done with round 1. Catch your breath. Drink some water. Check in on you. Woo. Going good. I hope you guys are giving yourself a challenge. That's what it's all about. Give yourself a challenge every day. We can find a way to make that challenge facilitate our growth. Make that progress every day. Kobe. Appreciate that support coming in the comment section from Vibe. Have for life. Appreciate you. Oh, we got 30 seconds before we pop into the next round. In the next round, we're going to talk about more of a defensive pivot maneuver using that rear hook to keep aggressive, keep that pressure on even as we back up and we get ourselves out of the way or we move back away from an opponent. Just because we have an aggressive opponent pushing in doesn't mean that they're in the lead. They could be throwing a lot of hits that don't match, that we stay out of the way of, and it doesn't mean they have that advantage. We can be dangerous moving backwards, forwards, sideways. We want to be dangerous in all circumstances. All right, square up with that visualized target. Guard high by the brow line. Tuck the chin, roll the shoulders, curl the hips. Muay Thai stance, nice and balanced. Step in for the 1, 2. Down that pipe, 1, 2. Down that pipe. Now we're going to visualize that opponent coming in, putting that forward pressure on us, right? They're charging in, they're stepping forward with advancing attacks. What we're going to do here, small step off the line with the rear foot. Again, we're going to pivot, but this time on the ball of the rear foot. And we're going to rotate right around into southpaw stance. So let's guard up, right? We've got that target coming in. Step off the line with the rear foot. Push off that front foot so we can rotate. Boom. And switch over into southpaw stance. Rotate all the way back, back on the line. Step in for the 1, 2. Pop, pop. Back to stance. We've got an aggressive opponent. We're going to step off that rear line. And we're going to pivot on the rear foot, switching into southpaw. Boom. Switching into southpaw gets us out of the way of danger. Now let's make ourselves effectively dangerous on that switch by launching a rear hook as we pivot. Guard up, guard high, hit him with the 1, 2. 1, 2. And now he's coming in hard, he's coming in hot. We're going to step off the line, pivot into southpaw, but as we pivot, toss that rear arm up, right? Boom. There it is. As we pivot through, we got a nice counter hook coming in. Right through the guard, right on the side of the head of that aggressive opponent. Back to stance, square up, and keep it moving. Tuck chin, roll the shoulders, curl the hips. Knees bent, keep it square. Hit him with the 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And now he's coming in. We're going to step off that line with the rear foot, pivoting into southpaw, and tossing that hook at the same time. So pivot through, boom. There it is. And back to stance, back on track. Step in for the 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Back to stance. Opponent's coming in. Off the line. Pivoting on that rear foot. Switching to southpaw. And tossing the hook all at the same time. Keep the guard high on that opposite hand. Sink a little bit on the knees for the pivot. You can put some explosive power in it. Boom. There it is as you rotate through. And back to stance. Guard high. Back on track. Balanced Muay Thai position. Let's go. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And we're going to pivot off that rear foot for the aggressive opponent. Stepping off the rear line, switching into southpaw, tossing the hook at the same time. Let's go. Boom. Nice counter hook. Pivot back on track. Guard high. Hit him with the 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So remember, rotate. Aggressive opponent coming in. Off the line with the rear foot. Sink a little bit. Pivot into southpaw while tossing that rear hook. Boom. There it is. And back to stance as the end of round 2. Ooh. Hey. Appreciate you. Hey. Hydration time from Master Checo. All kinds of good comments coming in. Appreciate you guys on the support. Shout out to Jonathan. Hey. And Vibe Have for Life says he wants to hit the bag. We're bringing the bag all across America. This fall, the bus will be done. Starting in Colorado, picking up that tour, bunch across America. If you're dealing with stress, anxiety, frustration, or you just want to come out and see what it's like to hit that bag, get that physical release, it is free to anybody dealing with those things. And also, if you're following the account, you get a free training around it as well. So let's link up. I'm not sure where you're tuning in from, but I'll be all over the US, so let me know. Definitely down. We got 10 seconds until we turn in to the final portion of our lesson today, and that's going to involve a switch stance and a pivot on the lead foot. Here we go. Hey, shout out to Smiling Shelly. Appreciate you, Shelly. Good to see you. Hope we can link up before I'm out of here in the Jersey area. Back to Muay Thai stance. Square up. All right, for this next one, we're going to be pivoting, but instead of pivoting on the lead foot, we're going to pivot on that rear foot. It's an aggressive attack, but we're going to toss a switch stance in there just to mix things up and to change up that guard, throw our opponent off. So we're going to do here from orthodox stance, that's dominant hand in the back, we're going to reverse everything into the mirror image. So a little hop here into southpaw. We're going to step off the line with what was the rear foot. It's now the lead foot on the ball of that foot, and we're going to twist, pivoting through, and launching that counter hook at the same time. Let's practice it together. Back to square, hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And now hit him with the switch stance. Boom, everything is reversed. Step off the line, pivot on that lead foot, and toss that arm up into the body cast, 90 degrees, keeping the guard high. Boom, rotate right on through. Keep the chin tucked for additional balance control. Rotate back on track and keep it moving. Hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. Roll those shoulders, tuck the chin, curl the hips, knees bent, keep the weight on the balls of the feet, and let's go. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And switch stance, pivot into that lead hook. Switch stance, boom, pivot into the lead hook. Rotate back on track and keep it moving. Let's go. Let's mix in those other tools we learned. Step in for the 1-2. Now we're going to pivot on that lead foot. Diagonal step forwards, putting pressure on them. Sink a little bit. Stand up as you pivot in for that lead hook. Whoosh. Boom. Rotate back to stance. Keep it moving. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. And we're going to pivot on the rear foot this time. We're visualizing that opponent coming in. Step off that rear line. Pivot and switch to southpaw while tossing that rear hook. Whoosh. Boom. There it is. And rotate back to stance. Keep it squared. Hit him with the 1-2. 1-2. 1-2. Switch to southpaw. Boom. Off the line with the lead foot. Pivot and toss that lead hook. Whoosh. Boom. Back to stance. Square it up. Guard high. Hit him with the 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. Chin tuck. Guard high. Roll those shoulders. Let's go. 1-2. Fight for you. Keep moving. 1-2. Pivot on that lead foot for the hook. Diagonal step. Whoosh. Rotate into the hook. Back to stance. Opponent's coming in. Step off the line with the rear foot. Let him pass and rotate through. Boom. Capping him with that rear hook. Back to stance. Off the line diagonal for the lead hook. Pivot. Whoosh. And that is the end of round 3. I hope you guys challenge yourself. Woo. Put in the work out there so that you can make that progress. It's all about progress out here. Woo. Remember, whether it was a minute, whether it was all 9 minutes, each step forward counts. So please do keep track of every step forward. Keep track of every day that you accomplish your daily training goal, because that number will build up into more and more mental resiliency, and that's what we need to get ourselves out of that victim mindset that depression tries to sell us and into a victor mindset, giving ourselves accurate proof for our strength and endurance. Woo! And let's check out the comments here. Brett says he loves the switch routine. Appreciate that, brother. And Smiling Shelly throwing some hearts. Appreciate it. And the guy from the Quick Mart. Oh, it's Raj from the Quick Mart. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. Let's do it. Let's get a bonus round of signature. Let me know when you're gonna make it out there. Until next time, I'll catch you guys and girls. Same sack time, same sack channel, same sack life. Sack man out.